Hey everyone, Jim T. Graham. I love it when boxes come, especially from DHL. And a box came today, and it is the Rodeo150 from Walkera. You may or may not know that I'm fully in love with my Walkera F210. What a unit. The blower is not stock. I added that. But I love this quad. So the good folks at Walkera sent me the Rodeo150. It's smaller. I like small. I'm a big fan of small. So let's crack it open and see what is in the case. So we have our instruction manual and a CD. And we have a cable. And we have that USB cable to hook it up to your computer. We have a non-proprietary battery. Love it. This is a 2-cell. I believe it's an 850. Yes, it's an 850. The only problem is I only have one. It'd be awesome if I had 3. I guess we'll get on the internet and see how I can purchase more of those. We have a little wrench and a tool for our props, although these appear to be spin-ons. And then we have spare props. I'll crack these open so you can take a look. The F210 came with spin-on props, which have proved to be indestructible, but the props that came extra were not spin-on, but these are extra and spin-on. Some people do, some people do not like them. I have no reason not to like spin-on props. I have crashed my F210 every way possible. And caution, after unlocking motors and propellers will begin to move. For your personal property safety, please stay away from the aircraft. Alright, you've been warned, everyone. Ooh, the best part though. Let's see what we have here. The Rodeo 150. It's not too small, it's not too big. So these are their foldable transmitter stalks, let's call them. And so when you fly, of course, they're up. When you crash, they can fold back without breaking. And it looks like they'll go either direction. Awesome. Don't have the antenna on yet. This is a plastic housing. I'm not sensing carbon fiber anywhere. Pull this down and slide this to put your LiPo in. So this is all plastic inside as well. It's 200 grams all up weight, so that's pretty light. It's got nice landing feet. Sometimes you don't get that. LED on the front. And then the cam is pretty interesting. A, it looks cool. B, the 210 has this type of protection on the camera, which we weren't sure how protective that would be, but it turned out to really work. We really pile drive that in. So I'm going to assume this works as well. Also, I'm not going to force this yet, but this little piece right here should rotate your camera. Yeah, I'm going to leave it alone for now. From here to here. So you have nice angle. USB port is right here. And then there's a couple of other ports down here. So that is the Rodeo. It's pretty good looking. Flight testing will tell how rugged it is and how well it flies. This is pretty interesting. The antenna, not normal, small. I guess that's how it's supposed to look. Usually there would be a mushroom on the end, but there's nothing here. I do like it, so we'll see how that works in the field. Then we pull, once again, always awesome, these boxes. This thing has a handle on the top, right here. So if you wanted to use this as a transportation box, you can, and the props stay on. So here's your DaVinci transmitter. I have so many of these now, I'm going to have to literally start labeling them. Here is a LiPo charger. That would be useful for somebody who, this would be their first quadcopter. And your power supply, once again, something you want to keep all together. What's this? Oh, that's your handle. And then we have the transmitter. Now, there's good and bad for me about the transmitter. The great part is, this is a good transmitter. There's nothing wrong with it. The other great part is, it's already programmed. There's really nothing you need to do, except perhaps bind it. We'll find out here in a second. And then I always look under here. There's nothing under here. But I always think, man, what? Maybe I'm missing something. But I'm not missing anything. So, here's your carry box. Put it all back together. Some hot tips right here. And bam. So that's how that goes together. It's ready to go. So I'm going to assume, where's our battery? That this has a safe about a 3.8 per cell charge on it. Every battery I've received so far has. If you need to change connectors, not a problem. Just utilizing your soldering skills and whatever connector you use. So, first we're going to turn the transmitter on. Oh, really? Let's check for some batteries. No batteries. And there's no batteries in the box. Pause to pause, nag to nag. I'm going to power the transmitter off and back on. Okay, check it out. See the trims? Okay, when those trims are moving around like that, that is what I believe it to be binding. And now it's bound. Okay, so just for reference, I'm just telling you how it worked for me. I powered this up. I have my finger here in case something happens, like it wants to fly away. I'm out of prop spinach, and then I turned the transmitter on. The way I knew that it was getting trim is, or not, it was binding, is the trim LEDs were moving, and then when it actually, man, this thing feels pretty hefty. Okay, so we are in my shop, so I'm not going to fire it up, but everything's ready to go. You know what we could do? We could take a look at the video transmission on my monitor I happen to have up here. So I guess the screen here used its search function to find the right channel, but there we have it. There's no on-screen display that I see. You know, let's read about that for a second. And let's talk about specs. We'll go back down to the quad. So here's the specs on the Rodeo 150. It's a 150 millimeter FPV racing drone, integration frame design, suitable for indoor and outdoor because it's small. Supports 3D aerobatic flight mode. That's awesome. That means we can do flips and rolls. Adopt F3 flight controller. Now the flight controller on my last Walkera quad was really, really good. And then the camera is a 600 TVL. Weight 200 grams. Devo 7 transmitter. Devo RX 716 receiver. It's an FCS Rodeo 150 flight controller. And a 7.4 850 milliamp battery. 30C, by the way, in case you're buying some more. So the balance tab is living in front of the battery. These wires are pressed down and in the center, and your plug is right here, and then you slide your door shut. So the great part about this is in a crash, it might fly off, we'll find out, but I don't think it will fly off. There's nothing hanging out, and then when we put it down, it's all nice and contained. You know, this is an indoor craft, they say. So since we're all hot, so we're in my office. And I'm flying in here without the goggles on, but I have the goggles on my head. So here's my SG and some photos. So outside I have a dual diversity monitor, and then I have the cable running inside to my goggles. I'm flying, I'm right behind there. Getting out the window was a trick. Now I've pulled my goggles down. I didn't want to fly into my brain, you know. And then I fly out. Now this thing flew all through my backyard while I sat in the office. So let's just sit back and enjoy flying the Rodeo. So the battery is an 850, but it gave me, check this out. Bam! I run right into that thing. The props don't care. And I found that I crashed this a lot, more so than usual, because usually if I crash something this much, it wouldn't fly anymore. And this thing took hit into trees, into ladders, into windows. You name it, I've hit it. I've come down hard. The only thing I've really hurt is the antenna. And so I'm using a different antenna here. And I've also found, of course, that different antennas give you a better signal. So while they call this a race quad, I would call it more of a backyard indoor quad. You could race it, I mean, theoretically. But this is kind of what I've always been looking for. Now, here's the trick. When you're flying like this, you don't have a GPS hold, but you need a craft that's stable enough to allow you to go through here. Check this out. When I go through, I hang the antenna up on the bar, and it's like, and then it finally lets go and lets me out. So this thing is stable enough to do things like this. It's fast enough. You could run a course, but it's only a 5 to 6 minute battery, so you're not going to be out there very long. But this kind of stuff is awesome. And the fact that I could get this signal from inside the house, well, actually, like I say, okay, I made it through this ladder, but not today, not on this one. So I kicked it back over, and then we'll finish out the video. But let me just say, flies great, very stable. You put it in the 3D mode, and I'll show you that in a second. You can do flips and rolls and all the good stuff, but it's not carbon fiber, but it's so light, 200 grams, that it doesn't care if you crash, you know? So it's perfect for this kind of FPV. The only regret I have a few things. I only have one battery, so every time I did a flight, I'd have to go recharge before I could shoot some more video. So that was a big drag. So more batteries are needed. I dropped it in the pool right there 3 days ago and fished it out. It was on, it was beeping. And so I dried it out, put silica on it, flew it the next day. Couldn't believe it. Don't suggest it, but just saying, I totally submerged it in water. So let's jump back up off the table, I think, yeah. And then we'll go out and we'll do some 3D stuff. And all I'm going to do is flip it into mode 2, I believe, and do some flips and rolls and things like that. And then we'll take a look at some in-flight photos, and I'll give a summation about this awesome little quad. So I flipped it over, and this is the backyard. So we're not very high in the air at all, and we're just kind of hovering around doing flips and rolls. Very cool. Very close. Not close. It is a combination between a micro quad, like something that would be $80 that you can fly around and not worry about, and a high dollar 250 size quad that flies really well and has a nice board on it. And this is a great combo of those two. So even though it's not carbon fiber and made out of plastic, it held up great. It went in my pool and was submerged with the battery on, came back to life the next morning, hasn't had any ill effects. I don't suggest that, but just an FYI. I did break the stock antenna almost immediately. I replaced it with this antenna, and after some crashes, this antenna wasn't happy either. And I put a flexible stock antenna on there, and that seemed to work a lot better. So just be careful with which antenna you put on there. If you're not flying rough, it doesn't matter, of course. But in general, it really could take a crash. I mean, I hit everything. I hit ladders, trees, windows, the house. I hit it all. And the little quad not only would take the hit, but usually the motors wouldn't even stop turning. So if it landed right, I could fly off again. And I never damaged a motor or a prop. Really impressive. Flies great. The price is right. And I have to suggest it. The Rodeo 150 is a great little quad. I'm Jim T. Graham with RCGroups.com.